Tonight's edition of In Pit Lane is proudly brought to you by Arrow Karts. Arrow Karts. Experience the thrill. Kelly Brothers Racing threw open their new race headquarters in outer suburban Melbourne to the public last Saturday as the team prepared for this weekend's first enduro at Phillip Island. A large crowd turned out for the chance to meet Todd, Rick and team drivers Nathan Pretty, Jack Perkins and Ben Collins. The day also raised money for charity, with the gold coin donation for entry going to the Starlight Children's Foundation, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation and Save a Dog. The open day gave the public a rare opportunity to see behind the scenes at a top-level race workshop, and few areas were off limits as Kelly Brothers crew continued their preparation for the 500k Enduro this weekend. With only a week to go to the first long-distance race, Rick Kelly is looking forward to the race and he's delighted by the different challenges of the 500k.
Our championship presents us with a lot of different opportunities. One is endurance races where we get to share the car with another driver, and it's pretty exciting. It's good to have big races like Adelaide, single driver events and different events around the country and internationally. And like I say, the endurance events is something that I definitely look forward to, and it's going to be really good to get back in the car with Todd and see how we go. And as well as that, we've got international drivers, Ben Collins and obviously Nathan Pretty as well. He's from Australia, but it's good to have those guys on board too.
So how different are the cars set up? I mean, nowadays, it used to be they were almost totally different cars, but I mean, is there a huge change between what you've been running in the sprint rounds and what you'll be running at both Phillip Island and Bathurst?
No, the big difference is that all the components on the car are basically at zero life, which means they're brand new. So at Phillip Island, that's the case. So we know that we've got a great chance of winning, and there's no potential, or we minimise the potential for failures on the car. And Bathurst, again, everything's brand new. But being such a long event at Bathurst, by the time we get to Sunday night, everything on the car's worn out. All the components generally lifed, and they've got between 2,000 and sort of 8,000 kilometres on them, so it doesn't take too long to wear them out at that rate. But that's mainly the main thing we changed. Both Todd and myself drive our cars with a very similar setup, so there's not too many changes that we need to actually make to jump in the same car.
So how much are you looking forward to that? I mean, the opportunity to race with your brother.
I really am looking forward to that, to be honest. We had the opportunity to drive together in 2006. We missed out on winning Sandown by 1.5 tenths. We missed out on winning Bathurst by 6 tenths. So we got 2 seconds and we're very competitive. So to be honest, I think that we'll be one of the favourites in our mind heading into those events. We've got some really tough competition like Garth and Will teaming up, and FPR and Triple Eight obviously are probably the favourites out there. And this is the events that we've been planning on winning. We knew starting our own team at the start of the year we weren't probably going to be in the running to win the championship, so we focused all our energy on the 2 endurance races, and we're quite excited that they're here now.
As you say, you've got a number of different formats running now. I mean, with so many rounds and the possibility of more to come, would you like to actually see more? You've only got the 2 endurance races. Would you like to see a couple more spread out throughout the year?
I think it's probably the appropriate amount. We need not forget that the championship is a single driver championship, and although we're not in the running for it this year, it's sometimes a bit nerve-wracking when you're in the running for the championship and you've got another driver out around the track driving your car, and as well as that, you've got a lot of other inexperienced drivers in cars, mid and lower pack, just because you need to double the amount of drivers. So I think that it's important probably not to push it too much further, but it is a very big part of our category as well.
The team also prepares cars for Jack Perkins' Team Dodo outfit, but what changes do they make to prepare for a long-distance race?
Yeah, really looking forward to this race coming up. It's good to get back in the 2 driver races where last year had some great success finishing in the top 10 at both Phillip Island and Bathurst. So this year with Dale Wood in the Dodo car, really looking forward to it. I guess the way we prepare is just make sure the seat's comfortable for both drivers and make sure we're comfortable with the pedals and the steering wheel, and because you're in the car for a long time, maybe even a double stint. So it's a bit of a compromise when you've got 2 different drivers, but Dale and I are both built like jockeys, so it's not too bad.
Last time you were in the studio, I mean, we talked about the problems you had last year with the diabetes and all the rest of it. Does that, in terms of the management of that, does that the long distance races provide any extra challenge?
They can. I guess, a stint's probably between an hour and an hour and a half. And our Sunday races are about the same these days at 200k. So in a length situation, it's not too bad. But when you've got to back it up, for a second stint can be a bit more difficult. But I've got 2 drink bottles in the car, one being the Gatorade. So it gives me enough freedom there to top up my sugar levels and make sure I'm at no risk of going low, and haven't had any dramas in the last few years. So it should be good.
So what are your strategies coming up for this weekend? I mean, do you just take it nowadays as a 500k sprint race, or do you still plan it as an endurance race and work on strategy?
Yeah, well, Phillip Island's always a tough one with the weather. It's last year it was a great day at the start, sunny, and the track was quite warm, and then halfway through the race we had a massive downpour with hail. So these things happen at Phillip Island, and it's a gateway to hypothermia, as they say. So that's probably a bit different to Bathurst, where if it's dry, it's typically going to be dry all day. But we just want to finish. We want to bring the Dodo car home, and I know Dale's got the same ideas. And if we can finish well, we'll be in the top 10. So we had good speed on the test day, and the Dodo car's going well.
The Jack Daniels team will be joined this year by British driver Ben Collins. He'll team with local endurance specialist Nathan Pretty. I'm not going to ask you the obvious question, but how many times have you been asked the obvious question since you got here?
About being James Bond quite a few times, and so obviously that was good fun.
Well, I suppose it helps that, I mean, looking like Daniel Craig, I mean, does it have other benefits?
Well, I'm married, so that kind of put that one out the window, I guess. But, Daniel's a good bloke, and it was great fun working with him on the Bond film. So we smashed up a good number of nice cars, and we had a great time filming that film of Quantum of Solace.
So obviously you do a lot of movie work. I mean, is that sort of your bread and butter now and the racing's on the side, or would you like to get more full-time back into racing again?
I was very fortunate that the sort of filming work I've done fitted around the racing, and racing has always been my number one priority. And, it's haven't always had full seasons of the last few years, but I've been in touch with racing full-time one way or the other with Le Mans Series and GT, and now with the V8 Supercar. So I'm just really glad to be here.
Just over the past few years, I mean, getting the opportunity to race at places like Le Mans and in the GT series, you're driving some of the world's best circuits in some of the world's most spectacular cars. Heard that you want to come out, you're looking at a possible full-time drive in V8s in the future. Why is that?
Well, the first thing is to do well in these first 2 races, and I've got my sprint race on Saturday in Phillip Island. That's my first focus. Obviously, before that, the qualifying, the test sessions, and to do a good job. And it is early days to think beyond that, but I have already seen enough here. This fantastic operation they've got with Kelly Racing, and Holden doing a great job in the series. So who wouldn't want to be here, basically? And for a long-term future, it would be great. But really, my focus is on the next 2 races and make sure those go as well as possible.
With your experience in things like FIA GT and also in Le Mans, how does the V8 Supercars compare from what you've seen so far? I mean, is it a genuine World Series?
Well, obviously you've gone now into the Middle East, but it's certainly viewed worldwide, and we get it across in England, and people regard it there as the best touring car racing that they can watch. If you call it touring, super touring, however you want to call it. So we've got these slower front-wheel drive things that they race in UK and a bit in Europe. The V8 Supercar is, I think, far more exciting to drive and to watch as a spectator than the touring cars that we see in Europe. More comparable to NASCAR racing, which is, again, I've got a bit of a background in that, and that's spectacular, and it's great to drive. In some ways, though, you've got the endurance rounds, which are comparable to Le Mans Series racing, and that's so you've got the sort of the fitness focus and other things that come into that. So I think, in a way, it's picked the best parts of various types of racing. You've got that in one great series.
How do they compare to drive with some of the other cars? We had Alain Menu on a couple of years ago, and he said, without wanting to be sort of offensive, they are a touch agricultural. He said they're like 700 horsepower tractors, fun tractors, but tractors nonetheless. How do you find them?
Yeah, I think they're a bit more sophisticated than that, maybe since he drove them, and they are unique. There's a discipline to how you control the throttle in these cars, which probably you're well aware of, and your viewers are. You have to be incredibly smooth and very, very deliberate with how you apply the gas. The cars they will only be driven in one way, and I think that's why a lot of European drivers come across here, and it's a real heads up to get used to that. So, I mean, they are more comparable to a NASCAR, and that is a more simple car, sort of in terms of how they're built. But that's why the racing is good, because the racing is closed. The cars are almost identical, but the teams are allowed to express their creativity in the ways they set them up, and it's the right balance.
So far, with all the things you've driven over the years, I mean, going back to the Formula Vauxhall days either, what stands out at the moment? I mean, if you're talking about the race, the event, what's the highlight so far?
The best race I've ever done is Le Mans, and I was very fortunate to drive the Le Mans prototype, the sort of top class, if you like, doing 220 miles an hour in the rain is just something you don't forget. And racing through the night and those sort of things, and the application you had to put in to be able to drive consistently fast over 4 hours. You know, from what I've gathered about Bathurst and what I've seen on TV and having never been there, that's the sort of challenge that I'm looking forward to here too.
So how much of the attraction in coming over here for the V8s is because of that circuit, because of Mount Panorama?
Well, initially, really, you know, I've had to kind of get up to speed on Bathurst. It's not, you know, in Europe we've got our sort of historic races. I was aware of it, but the more time I've spent here, the more I've learned about Bathurst and how important it is to Australia and motorsport here. So it's for me to get the opportunity to racing with the Kelly brothers and get a feel for the series is the big aim. And but now that I'm here and I understand what it's about, Bathurst obviously is really looming into view as a big thing to do.
So what are your plans now? I mean, obviously next weekend down at Phillip Island for the Phillip Island 500k Enduro. Do you stay in Australia or do you head back and have any other racing or any other work over in England before you come back for Bathurst?
I'm going back this time after Phillip Island and coming out ahead of time for Bathurst, hopefully to get a look around in a road car and do the bit of familiarisation. Yeah, it'd be nice to stay out for longer next time because I've had a great time since I've been here.
Okay, well, best of luck at both Phillip Island this weekend and also at Bathurst, and hopefully we'll see you on a more regular basis next year here in V8 Supercars. If not, hopefully we'll catch up with you at Le Mans. Until then, Ben Collins, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks very much for having me.
And thanks to Ben and thanks to you for joining us once again. Hope you'll join us next week. We'll have all of the news from Phillip Island, plus, of course, all the latest local, national and international news on another edition of In Pit Lane. Until next week, bye for now. Tonight's edition of In Pit Lane is proudly brought to you by Arrow Karts. Arrow Karts. Experience the thrill. Karting is a fun, fast, affordable motorsport for the whole family. Whether it's the first step of a professional motorsport career or just a great family weekend, karting is #1. Find out more. Go to arrowkarts.com or free call 1-800-ARROW-KARTS. Arrow Karts. Simply electrifying.